Welcome to RPG Renegades 2400 playtest. So Jeff's recently got the rules, and we're just going to do the flyby the seat of your pants version. We've got a scenario idea, probably just a little one shot, and we're just going to have some fun with it. We hope you enjoy.
Yep.
These are the voyages
of Ken and Jeff.
So this is 2400. This is actually there's a whole bunch of different ones out now, which is really cool. But this one's called Cosmic Highway by Jason Tocci. Sorry, Jason, I don't know how to say your name. Also, fantastic art. This guy, he goes by the nickname of Beeple Test, I think it is. All right, let's go. So never played this before. Don't quite know the rules. They're very simple though. Everything is on like a 3 to 4 pages. The scenarios are basically generated from a die roll, so there's supposed to be very little prep for the GM. I did do a little bit, took some notes to myself, but I did use the prompts to come up with the scenario. So hopefully when I get stuck, Ken will jump in and fill in the story. Okay, so the gist of this are space truckers, so smugglers, that sort of overall setting. We went through the character stuff already. Do you want to introduce your characters?
I'm playing 2 characters, Gene Hackman, who, what we did, which is maybe not typical of the rules, but we did almost like dual professions. And so with me having 2 characters, that would give me cover, all the different aspects. So Gene Hackman is the pilot captain, is that right? And the Roger Rabbit is the gunner. Is it navigator?
Engineer, yep.
Engineer, sorry. I should just look at it on the sheet. So yeah, Roger Rabbit, engineer, gunner, and we also have an NPC AI bot who is the ship's doctor. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the original rules, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 archetypes, so potentially 6 players could play. But since we're doubling up, just one-on-one gameplay, I dropped there's one called the Drifter, who is a stowaway. So I just dropped that one, and then I just combined the 2, the captain and the pilot, and then the engineer and the gunner, and then we're going to have this ship be sort of the NPC doctor. Yep, cool.
Sounds good.
Yep, and then your origin, you took the Downsider, and for the captain, and the Spacer for Roger Rabbit.
Yep.
And basically the Spacer gives you a D8 in spacewalking, and then it gives you a slight hindrance if you find yourself in a high gravity situation.
Mm-hmm. So he's born in space, and Gene Hackman was born on Earth, or a planet.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I give you a couple of wee bits and pieces here about them as well while I'm looking at them?
Yeah, sure.
Gene Hackman is, I just like saying his name as a character. He's got battle armor. He's got a pistol and a comlink, and Roger has the comlink, a pistol. He's got a low G jetpack, repair tools, and a survey pack on the ship. So reasonably well equipped.
You want to go through your skills?
Yeah, okay. So our Captain Gene has got D10 in persuasion, D8 intimidation, D10 pilot, D8 navigation, and D8 reading people. So he's quite good at sussing people out as well. And Roger has D8 in electronics and engines, and D10s in shooting and explosives. So and D8 on spacewalking. And I kind of think of Roger Rabbit a little bit like what was the guy that flew the helicopter in the A-Team?
I think you told me. Was it Matt Murdock, was it?
Murdoch, yeah. So he was quite wacky. So yeah, so he's kind of a little bit eccentric. And then everything else, if I remember right, anything we want to try, because these are the high skills, so D8 or D10, anything else is a D6, you know, so if I want to climb a cliff face, it's a D6 because I've not got that skill. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a clever, I like the way that system works. It's basically, I mean, it gives you a list of skills to choose from, but basically like anything you think of during the game, if you want to do a test or skill, it just starts off with a flat D6.
Yeah.
And then a simple 1 to 2 is a fail, like a disaster. 3 to 4 is considered a setback. What's it say? Lesser consequence or partial success. So like if you're risking death or something, 3 to 4 would be you're maimed or you're hurt. And then a 5+ is considered a success. So D6, that's your stand. So as you increase in your skill level, the D8, those numbers still stand, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5+, but now your odds are much better because now you're rolling a higher D8, D10, whatever. So pretty simple, pretty clever. Oh, the defense part is interesting too. So like for instance, your character has the battle armor. Yeah. The captain. So the battle armor is considered bulky, and the reason is he uses the word, you can break it. So if you get into a situation, like let's just say you're in a gunfight or something, and somebody shoots at you and you roll a 1 or a 2 and you fail, you can choose to break your armor. In the case of the heavy armor, you can break it 3 times and it mitigates that fail. So it's sort of like a way of defending yourself against those bad dice rolls.
Yeah. So if somebody was successfully hit me with a sledgehammer, then I could take the damage to the heavy armor at least 3 times before I get hurt. Cool.
I would even say too, like if you know your gear, you've got a comm link and you also have a pistol. I would even say, you know, it doesn't have to be just armor. You could even say,
yep,
he shot my pistol out of my hand, and that would be considered like a defensive move. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's a couple in the rules. There's a list of some weapons ideas, some tool ideas, and then then we got the ship. So the ship has a series of what do you call them? Categories. So you got comms, crafts, which is not arts and crafts, equipment, hull armor, a jump drive, sensors, spaces such as cargo or barracks, sublight drive, and weapons. So there's a series of categories that you go through, and then basically you can kind of customize the ship on how you wanted it. So we did that too.
I quite like that element where you get to pick the kind of focus of what the ship's good at, you know?
Yeah. I don't think we probably don't need to go through all of these, but
no, that's fine. Yeah.
Do you want to just give me a sense? How do you picture your ship overall? Is it a huge thing? Is it old and beat up? Is it really small and compact for just the two of you, or kind of?
I'm imagining a bit more of a junky, older style. You know, in the kind of alien films, that kind of more grungy high tech. You know, like lo-fi high tech, if you know what I mean. You know, so not like sleek and flashy and super chunky and grungy. You know.
So not all white walls and gray stripes.
I can imagine Roger Rabbit in there with wrenches and hitting things and giving something a kick if it's not working. And even though it's got all the the tech in it, it's a bit more like the vibe of the Millennium Falcon. You know, where there's pipes hanging out, and they're always trying to connect something up because something's gone wrong, you know. So that kind of yeah, I think a bit more boxy looking and square with large engines, you know, than sleek and you know, it's not an Apple spaceship. Let's put it that way. You know?
Right. You do have, I think you have a cargo bay. Yep, bridge, cargo, life support, barracks. Those are all standard. Could you give me a sense how big your cargo bay is? Like something you could drive a car into, or even bigger than that, or smaller, or
yeah, I think you could easily, yeah. I think with the nature of the kind of world, or space truckers, I think we could get like a car or two in it, or a forklift truck in a car or something like that. I think it's designed for space, for carrying cargo. Again, nothing overly grand, but
cool. All right, so I think we already pre-rolled some ideas for the jobs and the locations. So that's where we're going to start. I think we even came up with a name for your contact, which I thought was a clever. You have like a contact. Oh, that's what I think. I think I pulled that. I recently watched The Mandalorian, and they have sort of the bounty hunters guild almost. So there's kind of like there's that one guy that you go to for your jobs.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a clever way. So we could do something like that. So you have this contact that when you need a job, you clearly you can go anywhere, or a job might pop up anywhere. But for like a standard, your normal procedure is you would contact your guy and see what he's got for you. Could have sworn I wrote his name down. I don't see it. We'll get to that. So your first job for this one, give me a sense. What did you just finish doing? Like, are you drifting in space right now, just looking for the next job, or are you planet side right now, or are you on a space station relaxing? Or yep, your contact name. His name is Vorta Hygen.
Yeah, I think we're either on a space station or on planet side, depending on what works for the mission. We're probably getting a few drinks. This is downtime, we've just finished probably quite an annoying job, We were actually towing some kind of cargo. So we had like 2 units, and it was just slow and laborious, and we had kind of 2 units attached to our spacecraft, and it was slow and laborious, and it kind of annoyed us, especially Gene Hackman, because he had to pilot the thing with this stuff. And actually equally Roger was quite frustrated with it, because we had to at one point just stop, and he had to do a spacewalk and fix some potentially damaged cup link thing between some of the parts. So yeah, that took a lot longer than we wanted to do, and it wasn't a big paying job. So we're here just at downtime. We know we've arranged to meet Vorta, and we hear there's a lot easier going job and higher paying job. So both of those are 2 big ticks in our boxes.
Right. How do you want to contact him? Is he like physical that you can go and see him, or is it just something you could call up on your ship? Or
yeah, I think we're meeting him at the location, so he's going to meet us at the bar.
Okay.
And if it's a good job, Gene told him if it's a good job, he'll buy him a drink or 2.
All right. Yeah, so let's see. So you enter this bar. I can't help, it's maybe cliche, but I can't help but think of the the Star Wars Cantina bar, but just a mishmash of aliens and creatures and humanoids and maybe some droids thrown in there here and there. So lots of buzz going on, and Vorta, you've dealt with him before, so you know what he looks like, where he, all you have to do is just find him in the bar. You walk into the bar, there's maybe some music playing, not live, just like piped in music. Mm-hmm. Typical bar scene where as soon as you come in the front door, maybe the brighter outside lights come in and kind of people like shield their eyes a little bit and look at who's walking in, and all eyes turn to you two as you walk in. I say you two. Are you together, or is it just one of you?
Yeah, it's both of us. I think the bar's Joe's place, and when you walk in the door, a kind of screen stroke hologram appears of Joe himself saying, "Hey, welcome to my bar. You're in for a good time here. We've got," and it gives you what the specials are on the kind of screen. It's kind of like a screen, but it's also, the image is kind of sticking out a bit. So he gives you the lowdown on what the good deals are, and they've got a special on the food, and so maybe there's a couple of pop-ups as you walk in the door. You get that as a welcome. But once you've been to Joe's place quite a few times, Joe the image of Joe gets a little bit annoying,
Yeah.
And maybe the real Joe is actually in the bar, but he's a lot more grey-haired now looking than he is when they did the video stuff. Or it's all CGI now, but they just use his image now to give the info, So a little bit more stressed out looking in real life.
I can imagine it's a very happy greeting, like, "Hey, welcome to the bar," and these are today's and you sort of just keep walking past, and as you do, the screen detects that you're not watching, and he just sort of like,
yeah. And then maybe before we get into the main bar, maybe there's a kind of entry, just a kind of hangout space first before it kind of opens up into a proper kind of cantina type setup. There's another screen where he pops up again and said, because you're probably with good advertising, it's timed out and they know that you've not heard the specials yet. So the second one he'll say, "Hey, you didn't hear about the specials." So it gets a second shot at really annoying you, So yeah.
That's actually really clever. I'm surprised they don't do that in bars now.
We need to copy that right now. We're just saying that we've invented this advertising.
That's a great idea, I think.
So we're in for a bit of old school hearty food, so it's kind of like something like, I don't know, sausages and mashed potato or something like that, We're wanting some really, really old world food,
Comfort food.
Mm-hmm.
You've been on the road for a long time, and now you're just looking to...
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, so you can order what you want from the digital menu. It'll take a little bit of time to prepare. In the meantime, you can search around for Vorta or just get a drink or mingle, or it's up to you.
I think we grab something to eat, and then we message Vorta, and send him a little message and say, "We're at Joe's place. Probably we wanted to get a bite to eat before we talk business, so we were in. Mm-hmm. We get something to eat, have a first drink, and then meet Vorta."
Perfect. It's you get out your communicator and you message him and you're like, hey Vorta, we're here, where are you? And he responds and he's like, "I'm already here." He says, "Where are you?"
We just say, "Oh, we've just come in." We don't tell him we've just had something to eat. And we just maybe walk over to the bar and say we're just approaching the bar. So
yeah,
I guess he's probably sitting in a booth somewhere,
That's it. He had his back to the door and didn't really see you come in, and he's in the far back.
So we go over and take him whatever he wants to drink over.
Nice. Okay. So that's a great, Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the beverage there. Thank you.
Well, you only get it if the job's going to be a good one.
Well, of course it'll be a good one. I mean,
well, that last
have I
job,
steered you wrong?
Yeah, that last job sucked.
Oh, well,
Took far too long, and it wasn't a good payer. I hope you get a good one this time.
Well, this one should be easier for you. So hopefully, just nice. It's almost a babysitting job almost. So he pulls out his little communicator and he starts going through it, looking up some of the details on it. He says, so basically, I got a transport job for you. The details are a little bit vague, but should be no problem. You need to transport some vials. From what I can tell from the notes here, it looks like there's some sort of like a medical vial of like test tubes or something.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really go into specifics what actually in them, but you don't even really need to know that. You just need to get them from point A to point B.
Gene kind of rubs his nose, like slightly irritated, and he says, if it's medical, is it dangerous?
Shouldn't be. There's nothing on here that says it is, so you should be fine.
And if it's medical, does it mean the rate's good?
That should be, I think you'll find that probably. And he goes through his notes and he looks and he says, I have a note here. He says, there's one condition.
Mm-hmm.
The deal is off if you incite any violence.
Okay. Well, there shouldn't really be any reason to incite any violence unless somebody's after the cargo, or tries to pirate. Any pirates come along.
And he kind of gives a look to Roger Rabbit and he's like, you heard that, right?
He's like, sure.
No problem. So he says, all right, so the package you need to pick up is actually at a casino. It's called Slingers, and it's quite a posh. It's considered an orbital casino, so it's basically its own traveling sort of space station, just off orbit. They pretty much, since they're not land based, they can pretty much do whatever they want on there. So. But it's got some money behind it, so it's not a total dump.
Roger says, do you mean I need to put on my tuxedo?
And if you want, although I don't think it's that. They take clientele from all over go there, so it's nice, but
Okay, cool. Well, just send me the coordinates and we'll head over there and do the pickup.
Yep, perfect.
And it's payment on arrival, yeah?
Yes, exactly. When they get their package, they will give you your funds. It's interesting the way the rule system works. When you finish a job, you basically roll a 1d6 to get that many credits. So I think for this one, because it's a little bit higher paying, I'll say it's a 1d6 plus 1.
Okay. Sounds like a deal.
Yep. So he gives you the location of the space station, and it is. I'm going to roll die. It's a little bit far. It's about 4 days. I know that's we'll just say it's a universal space time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about a 4-day trek just to get to the casino.
Okay, that's a fair run. So yeah, we'll put the bit down.
He's like, I'm afraid that's all the details I got. They'll let you know where the destination is when you get there, but it shouldn't be that far. It shouldn't be. Any questions? I don't know if I can answer them, but
Well, as long as you send me the contact, the navigation info, yeah, that's cool.
He gives you the contact name. It's actually Dr. Baja, B-A-J-A, Baja. But he's considered a doctor. And it gives you the, where you're supposed to meet him when you get there, that kind of.
Okay.
Let's say it even gives you like a little thumbnail picture of what he looks like too.
All right. So it's a fair trip to actually do the pickup, but hopefully, can he actually tell us? Can Vorta tell us where the end point is at this, or is it them that's only going to provide that info?
They'll give you the details, but he says I think it's only going to be like a 2-day trek.
Right.
So.
Okay. So we kind of save time on the delivery. That's not so bad.
It's going to take you longer to get there to get the job than the actual.
Yep. That's fair enough. I don't mind doing that if the kind of finish line is a shorter journey. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're good to go, I guess.
Yeah.
We've had some sausage and mash.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some drinks.
So we'll just fast forward through the, you get enough gear and supplies to last you for a nice week-long trek. How do you spare no expense when it comes to that sort of stuff, or is it like hot dogs and soda for 6 days straight?
Well, I don't know about 6 days straight, but no, I think we're quite happy with basic food, basic things that we need. It's kind of I think for both my guys, it's probably, now that you've got the job, it's like, let's get on with it, especially we know that it's a 4-day trek to get there to start off with, so it's kind of like your head's already in the job,
Mm-hmm.
So we'll pick up the necessities. I think Roger Rabbit, personality wise, would be once a job's done, he likes to let his hair down and have a bit of fun and entertainment or whatever, so but in terms of getting the job, it's like, okay, let's not go down, let's get on, let's go and get some supplies. So maybe Gene sends Roger out to get the supplies and stuff. It's kind of a common practice with the two of them.
Yep.
So they've been doing this, I'll say they've been together maybe 4 years or something like that. So they know the routine, they know the habits,
Mm-hmm.
So
did you say Gene has a military background?
I don't know if I did say that.
Reading into that. I might be reading into that. I think when I picture, you told me he had a grayish hair and he had a crew cut, and I'm picturing his bulky battle armor. So I'm sort of getting this mental.
Yeah, I think so. Especially maybe the battle armor's a carryover from his past. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he would be maybe he was a former military pilot, and he saw a fair bit of action, and he's maybe got some scars to kind of show for it,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was involved in the old wars, they call it, and that was a planetary based conflict, and which then kind of escalated to kind of interplanetary, basically one planet trying to take over another one. I mean, if we can use Earth, I'd be quite happy to have Earth involved in that, or a future Earth involved in that. So there was some kind of invasion force. So initially it was land-based, and then because of his skills, he was immediately recruited into the kickback, where it was an invasion, a retaliation, if you like.
Mm.
So there was some brutal, a really kind of strange alien species, but quite predatory, a kind of predator kind of race. So it's pretty rough going. So yeah, for him, maybe in terms of his psychology, for him doing this now is a way to earn a living, you know, and it doesn't involve that level of savagery. But maybe now and then, when in the last 4 years, when Roger and him have been together, maybe Roger's seen a couple of times a real kind of violent stroke sadistic side come out, when it's almost like he taps into that inner soldier from past wars, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The psychological scars are always worse than the physical ones, you know. That kind of thing. Whereas Roger was born and brought up out in space, and when he was a bit younger was just a mad party animal, you know. Maybe dabbled in too many substances, and maybe there's been some mild brain damage at some point, you know. And he can be a bit hyper at times and stuff, but he's totally dedicated to the captain.
Mm-hmm. I was, based on your description, I'm picturing it almost sounds like Roger might try to keep Gene under control at some points when he starts to fall into that sort of.
Yeah. Probably Roger would make light of a situation if he kind of sees the red mist beginning to rise, even in smaller scale situations, you know. So he makes like, or makes a joke, or kind of fobs somebody off. But
so maybe that's a nice character flaw to work with, that it doesn't take much to set off Mr. Hackman. It's, you know, he's got a short fuse.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right. So we'll fast forward. So you got all your gear. That's no problem at all. You're on your way. You've got 4 days of travel. We can just say you arrive, or if there's anything you want to do. I could throw in, if you give yourself a little challenge, do you want to try and push it and see if you can get there less than 4 days?
Yeah, let's see if we can. Yeah, we want to make the most of it, and really, you know, we'd rather not spend 4 full, 24-hour segments, and so yeah, let's. He did say let's put the boot down. We'll put the boot down.
So let's see. I think I have.
He's got a D10 in pilot, so that's not bad.
Okay, here we go. So I'm going to say let's consider this your first challenge here. So I'll say if you roll, if you get a 1 or 2, your ship's going to come up with some sort of a problem.
Okay.
You pushed it a little bit too far.
I got a 1.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to roll. Do you have a D20 handy, or if not, I can roll
it? Go ahead if you've got one, but I'll get one out.
Use my kids' own bike's dice. Uh-oh.
The ship blows up.
It's not that bad. Not
was a quick
bad.
adventure, Jeff.
Game over. No, Gene's flying along. Everything's been cruising along. He gets about. Well, you know what? Let's do this. Give me. No, I'm gonna say. So you're flying along, and your sensors array, your scanners what scans the area around you. Suddenly, the screen, like on the big, like the top right quadrant, just goes black. It just stops working.
And he's tapping the console and tapping the screen and all that to see if can I check to see if this is a sensors failure or mapping failure, or could it potentially be a signal that's blocking some activity that's going on in that area?
Mm-hmm. This sounds like a job for your engineer, for Roger. Do you want to put it to? So the way the system works, which is kind of different than all of our other games. It's basically whenever you do a skill test, you just basically have to talk it out as to what's the possible downside. So give me a sense. Is this something?
Well, I mean, the first thing I guess we would want to do is see if it's something internal in, say, the what do you call it, the control bit, you know, the pilot in the area. If it's actually physically some of the wiring or the tech, then that's not so bad. You can repair that inside. If it's something on the outside of the ship, like some kind of dish or transmitter receiver, then obviously Roger will need to go out and do a spacewalk, which he can do anyway, you know.
Okay, I like that.
So
now we're getting complicated.
Yeah, so maybe Roger, he gets Roger onto it, you know, while he's making sure all the other systems are all right. So could Roger check and see if it's internal or external then? And then he knows, basically find out where it is.
Yeah, can start narrowing it down.
So he would basically, he's got repair tools for whatever he needs. So would it be a D6 then? Because I've not got a specific kind of like,
I see.
No, sorry.
Electronics.
Electronics. Sorry, I was looking in the wrong area.
Yeah.
Electronics. I'll give that a roll. And that's a 7, so that's a success.
Ooh, nice.
So we can safely say he identifies it then.
So 7, that's a really good success. So I'm going to say I'll make it easier on you then too. So it doesn't involve going a spacewalk. We'll say it's internal. And it's probably either the screen itself. I mean, it could just be that simple, or just some wiring that he's got to just track down.
Okay, so do another electronics.
Well, let me ask you this. This has the potential. So in one sense, you're flying a little bit blind, right? You can't see what's up ahead of you and to the right. You could continue at your speed and get there on time, or you could ease off your speed and slow down, possibly arrive a little bit late.
We'll try and get there on time.
Okay. So in that case, then I'll say then Roger is able to sort of troubleshoot things as you're flying then. And so it's not going to take any further time delay off of your trip.
Yeah, Gene's concerned. I mean, normally you would probably be a bit careful, but because it is a 4-day trek, you don't want to lose the contract because he's late, you know. So that's the only thing that's stressing him a bit.
Okay. Do we want to do you want to put it to another skill roll just to see what happens, or?
Yeah, why not? So Roger's obviously, he's got the right tools out. He's following a kind of lack of signal down some kind of wiring, some kind of cabling thing that's going on there. Oh, and he got another 7.
Nice.
So basically he pinpoints it fairly easy. It's indoors. He's just like, Captain, this is an easy fix. It'll just take me about an hour.
All right, so that happens. It did not delay your time at all, and in fact, because you said you were sort of pushing your speed then, so you'll actually arrive a little bit early then. So you start approaching, and the sensor array kicks in, and your target, the casino, comes up on your radar, and it's quickly approaching.
Is a casino completely separate on its own. It's literally a floating casino.
Yep.
Right. So we can,
basically a space station in, that
Mm.
it's all basically set up for gambling and like hotel, like, you can rent rooms there and get food and restaurants. And
I mean, isn't that? I mean, obviously as you were saying, the rich of the rich would go there because it's kind of like the whole place is a casino. So yeah, Gene says, Roger, you can get your tux out if you want, and he's like, hot diggity dog, I'm gonna do that. So he goes away, and when we're kind of docking, Gene doesn't particularly dress up, but Roger comes through with some really, it's not like an old-fashioned tuxedo, but it's some kind of flashy suit with quite a loud color, like, I don't know.
I'm picturing like LED lights even blinking or something.
Well, he's got, I imagine, rather than a kind of tux collar, which is usually like velvety or something, he's got like a high collar up at the side, it kind of sits up, and it got lights or something kind of luminous around the lights, and a little light right going down the middle. But it's probably some, purplish or, outlandish color, So he's wearing that with, white sneakers. So Gene's just
is your battle armor, is that something he pretty much wears all the time, or is that like, does he only put it on when he goes outside of the ship? Or
I don't think so. I think, I mean, it's too bulky to go to like meet and greets, but I would say what he maybe can do is, the full suit is a full suit of armor pretty much, in sections. So what he'll sometimes do if he's more in a civilian area, but he thinks it's potentially dangerous, maybe he'll kind of wear the chest plate, with some leathers. He's got like big leather jacket and things, and big boots. So maybe he'll retain an element of it. So instead of like 3 damage, it could maybe take 1 damage, But if he's not anticipating anything, So I think in this situation, I mean, it sounds pretty safe, and we're not anticipating being jumped because we're just picking up the cargo. Would it be out of place if he had something on, like armor wise, do you think, in this?
No, here's what I'm sort of picturing. Maybe not. So in other words, it's considered bulky. But even that, I'm thinking, this is still like set in the future. I'm thinking maybe it's still some like high tech material that maybe isn't necessarily bulky this way, but just heavy. So like maybe it like weighs him down, like he wouldn't necessarily be able to run real quick with it at all.
Yeah.
But like even, if you wanted to have like full chest armor, it still could be thin, but it's just heavy.
I think what we'll do is, because Roger's decided to go all out, I think what he'll do is he'll go with like the chest armor, and he'll have his leathers on, and it would probably look like to a stranger that this slightly younger guy with the flashy suit, slightly ridiculous looking but flashy suit, is probably a young, millionaire, and this is his bodyguard. So that's what it looks like, even though Gene's in charge, it looks like he's maybe. So I think we'll go with that.
I like it.
It's kind of like what do you call that? It's kind of like a decoy to who they actually are,
I like it. So let's just say that as you start to approach the casino, I forgot the name of it already. Slingers, was it? Yeah, Slingers. The thing about casinos, right? There's money. There's, potentially lots of money that can draw some shady people looking to make a quick buck, making either hijacking a part, they watch to see who just won the latest round of roulette or something, and follow them out, and then they'll jump them or whatever. So there's a definite security heightened awareness. As you pull in, your ship is asked to send like a clearing code, like an identification. So you got to identify yourself to them. So basically, it's like a login, like they know who you are. Are you doing anything shady at all with that, or do you want to?
No, we're just doing a job. We're just picking up some cargo.
Yeah. All right. And it's funny too. You so no issues docking. I say that.
You want me to reverse into somebody's ship?
Sounds like maybe a piloting check. Let's see what you got.
D10, that's what I've got.
That's good. Should be no problem for Gene.
5.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a success. No problem. It pulls in, no issues at all. It's not even, shouldn't have even had to roll, but I made you do it anyway. So you arrive, and there's, you go on, you board, and the air is kind of stale and kind of smoky. You're not even sure what kind of smoke it is, but you see every so often there are armed guards posted every so often, although they're sort of like dressed up, so they're not made to look intimidating. They're just meant to give you a sense of security is really all they're there for. You've got your contact info, and you're supposed to meet at room 302. You're a little bit early, so if you wanted to do anything before you got there.
Yeah, I think we want to. Is there any way we could do some kind of info check on Dr. Baja before we meet him, just to see, like a background check to. Now, we could do that before we leave the ship, or we could potentially do that, with some kind of reception area or something, and say, we're meeting a friend, blah blah.
I'll leave it up to you. Do you have I would, even if you wanted to do it during that 4-day travel time, we could rewind it to that even.
Yeah, well, let's just do it. Let's say it's on the ship before we've actually gone on to the. Just because Gene Hackman isn't just, I'm a soldier and a pilot and I like beating people up. He's actually very skilled with things like persuasion and reading people. So that suggests he's an intelligent soldier, So I want to. Well, what would you want me to roll? Do you want me to roll a d6, Jeff, for doing a kind of info check?
Let's just say, all right, let's do this. If you get like a 1 or 2, I'll say you can't find much info about him, and then you'll kind of be forced to find out on the station.
Okay, you got a 5.
Okay. It's not really any particular secret, so you don't really, there's not really an issue. You look up his name and find out that he's a doctor, like we said. He works for biotech industries, and he's a scientist. He's a doctor. There's like a little company website. Maybe you get the general. It's all a lot of. It's like a cross between high-tech science and sort of new age,
right?
Better living through chemistry, that sort of thing.
That's maybe their tagline. The woman's voice comes. This voice comes on, and then better living through chemistry.
Yep, exactly. Like everything is very calm.
Yeah.
There's a Zen waterfall going on in the background. That's
yeah, good. Okay, so at least we kind of get the vibe of it, and we just, wherever the meeting place is, we'll just kind of go there in advance and just kind of settle down. Maybe be there about an hour before we're supposed to meet him.
Okay. I'm curious, do you want to I'm not sure how we could do it, but do you want to try to gamble?
Well, we'll say that Roger's very keen on spending some of his hard-earned credits, so I'll humour him while he goes and takes a little spin of the wheel or whatever it is he wants to do. How about we just roll 2 dice each and see who wins?
That sounds good.
So
Best of 3 or that sort of thing.
Well, let's say every time we roll, that's like 1 credit or 1 point to that person, and it's best of 3. Then see who wins the most.
All right.
So 2d6. I'm going for
2d6. Okay. Oh boy.
Funny that you mentioned it. I rolled a 7. But what did you get?
I got a 9.
Oh, swine. And of course, Roger's like, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to beat him this time. Another 7.
I got a 7 too.
Okay, so
No loss.
That's a draw.
Yep.
I'll get a chance to win my money back now. Oh, terrible.
Uh-oh. I also did not too good.
5.
I got a 4.
Yay! So basically I didn't win anything. I basically got my money back.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah. So Roger's like, let's give it one more round. I want to make a profit. 6.
And
10. Okay, so he loses it. So in the nature of gambling, he says, "Okay, just one one last one."
one more.
But at the moment, I'm on a loss.
But you got a 4?
Yeah.
I got a 5.
Okay, so that is disgusted, and the captain's like, "That's what this place is all about. You're gonna learn, son."
Easy come, easy go.
So Roger's a bit peeved. So Gene takes over and he says, "Come on, we'll just go to that place a bit early and we'll get a drink then." He says, "I'm buying." So that picks him up a wee bit. And
perfect.
Yeah. The joys of gambling. Be warned, children.
Yeah. That's probably the best I've ever done at gambling in my entire life. So. All right. You get to the meeting place. It's actually just like I'm sure the casino almost like a convention center, right? Like offices and ballrooms almost that companies and businesses rent out. They'll often do speeches or business presentations, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you get to this room. It's 302. It's a nice suite, so there's some money again behind this. But you go in and we'll say like a steward shows you to the room, leads you to the right place. And when you go in, there's actually nobody there, so you're that early.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking I was wrongly anticipating we're going to meet in a bar. Maybe we just take a wander around. There's no point in just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. But maybe go to one of the many, their version of slot machines. Where there's always bars near there. And
yeah.
Sometimes free drinks and things. So we'll maybe just get a little kind of side table or kind of tall stools or something like that. On a counter and get a couple of drinks and. We're overlooking some window scene as the station slowly orbits. We're just checking out the stars and the view of the planet nearby.
I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm not sure. It could be nothing. It could be something.
Does it go in the one where the space station blows up?
That would be a 20. I just rolled a 19, so you're lucky.
All right. Half of the space station blows up.
Let's do this. So you're just sort of passing time. We're waiting for the actual time of the meeting. We'll say it's like 3:00. about 2:55. You're making your way to the room, I guess, then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As you're walking, let's do this. Give me a dice roll. Just do a 1d6. I'm just curious what you get. This isn't really a skill test. It's just a random.
All right, okay. Because I was going to say if it's reading people, I've got a D8 on that. Oh, a 6.
6. You're making your way to the room, and suddenly your communicator beeps in your pocket, and you open it up, and it's got a little blinking red light. It says that there's somebody like tampering with your ship. You could either let it go, or you could risk being late to the meeting now, which is ironic because you were there early.
I say to Roger, wait here for the contact. I'm going to check. Jean heads off.
Okay.
Maybe they've got these Segway kind of little things that you can hop on for getting about. So he jumps on something and zooms down the corridor.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big space station. So Gene hops on. He takes a ride to the ship. There's, of course, lots of other ships, big, small, all different sizes. So it's sort of like a docking, bays every so often. You get to your docking bay. Anything you want to do before, like anything specific, or just?
I'm going to approach it with a little bit of caution, because if somebody's messing about, they might also be keeping an eye out, or there might obviously be 2 or 3 of them if somebody was tampering with the ship. You would maybe know. I take it we closed lock to ship up as such, after we docked. So is there any
That would
sign?
be standard.
Yeah, is there any sign that doors are open or anything?
I'm going to ask you to do another dice roll on that, and unless I don't think you have a skill specific, so we'll just put it to a D6 unless you can talk me out of it.
Well, if it's people activity, I've got that, I think, kind of useful skill. Oh no, I need to see the person reading people. Okay, I'll just roll a D6.
Yeah.
5.
Okay. You get to the ship, and the communicator basically was just like a car alarm. It was just like a beep to tell you something or something, no details. It just let you know. You get to the ship and you check the door, and it looks like somebody's been tampering with the door, the entrance.
But it's locked. Potentially it could have been opened.
Yeah, I'm not sure you would actually know. Maybe.
Okay. I'm going to go in.
Okay.
With my pistol drawn.
Okay. I would say this. I would say if you wanted to wait, you could have Roger Rabbit do an electronics, but that would mean either waiting till after the meeting or calling him back, or it's up to you.
I call Roger on the comm and I say, Roger, has Dr. Baja shown up?
Not yet. Should be here any minute.
Do you know what? I'm just going to go ahead.
Sure.
I'm going to go ahead. So I could I do a kind of basic electronics with a D6 to try and suss out?
I think that's a good solution. Maybe he can talk you through it. So in a sense, you're still using his knowledge, but it's just not a D8 for his skill. Yeah.
So I maybe do the kind of camera on the comm and just show him roundabout and maybe see where it looks like it's been jimmied or something's gone in, or device or something, some scratch marks or whatever it might be,
Yep. Right.
And get Roger to confirm. And so shall I do a D6 to just see if we can suss out what's going on?
Sounds good.
Obviously with his help. A 6. I rolled a 6.
Wow. Okay.
So this is the best dice rolling I've done in a long time.
yeah, Roger's like, oh yeah, there's the issue. Somebody apparently tried to open the door and was successful. They left a digital footprint, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew what they were doing in the sense that they got it to open the door and everything, but they did leave trace that they did this.
Okay, so maybe he's got some kind of gadget that, you know, is connected to the ships, like just on the comm system, you know, so he can actually have that sequence of numbers saved on the device, so that if we needed to check up who that may be, then we've got some kind of lead, you know. But now Gene Hackman is hacked off, so he's going in, and what he does is he can relay the comms to the comms within the ship, like a loudspeaker, because somebody might still be on board. So he relays his voice, and it comes over really gruff, and he said, "All intruders will be executed." And just repeats that as if it's not even as if, you know, it's some guy that's calling it in, but almost as if it's maybe coming from the ship itself. So
Nice.
And then he proceeds down the kind of entry corridor, and he's on high alert with his pistol drawn.
All right. So is he sort of doing like a room by room physical check then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's going to take time to do that. So let's put it to another dice roll. I'll say, well, let's see. Should we agree on? I think if you fail, it's just going to take time, and you probably won't find anything. If you get like a 3 or 4, you might find something. Still might take a little bit of time, but you might find something.
So this is a D6 again, yeah?
Yeah. It's basically just a search.
3. So I'm guessing that probably Dr. Baja shows up. You know, by the time that I've done my search, a 3 is still a success. Is that correct? Of some kind.
It's considered a success. Let me see exactly how it's worded. It's considered a setback, a lesser consequence, or partial success.
Okay, so definitely it's going to take longer than I would want it to, which is a kind of failure in terms of...
That'd be the setback, yeah.
Yeah, but having said that, that's fortunate now that I've left Roger there, so at least, but I mean, we're both the same company, but really it's normally the captain that does the talking. But maybe we can do a roll for Roger to make it, see how smoothly he handles the transaction.
Yeah. So maybe Roger sends you a quick message that says, "The doctor's here. What do I do?"
I just message back as, "You've seen this 100 times before, son. Just give him the patter and get the goods, or find out where the goods are, and tell them we'll have it done in time."
Okay. So do you want to like sort of switch scenes in? So we'll go to see Roger.
So at first, I imagine at first Roger's a little bit jumpy, you know, but the captain's told him, you know, right? In fact, just for fun, could we do a persuasion from the captain, because he's got a D10 in that, and it kind of like that might help give, I don't know, maybe I'm already messing with the rules, but maybe that gives Roger a +1 or something like that. I don't know.
To do what though?
Just to kind of keep it all together, and you know, whatever.
Yeah, you can roll if you want. So if you fail, then he's gonna start to lose it a little bit.
No, if I fail badly, then maybe but if I succeed in any level, then hopefully that, I don't know, I'm just thinking it would help straighten him out, you know. That was my thought.
Yeah.
So it's a 4, so it wasn't great. So but Roger would still need to to do a D6 anyway, because he's not really skilled in kind of convincing people or talking people into anything or anything along that line, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So should I do a D6 for Roger? So we're now in Roger's head, and what's Dr. Baja like?
Yeah, so let's set the scene. So I'll say you're in this sort of posh sort of meeting office. You know, it's sort of a fancy office setup. You know, there's a nice big round conference table, fancy plants, you know, real ones, not plastic, you know. Some food's been set out for you, drinks, you know, coffee, tea, that sort of thing.
Internally, Roger's going, smoking, right? Because
yeah,
he's got on the good gear, you know, he put on the fancy gear and all that, so he feels like he made the right choice, you know.
Yeah. And you're waiting, and then suddenly the door, you hear the door, shing, you know, like a space door, 2400 space door. And in walks a kind of a small, weaselly looking guy. Not weaselly, like he's up to something, just nerdy, like, you know, got glasses. He's actually got a white lab coat on, you know. And there's another man with him. Well, I say man, but he's sort of, I'm not even sure if this is the right word or not. Simian? Is that the right word for like, like a monkey or an ape-like creature? So this character, he's definitely got that look about him. Like he's like maybe 90% human, but maybe 10% apish, right?
Yeah.
Just something about his looks are off.
It's all genetics. So yeah, I think Roger does the polite kind of introduction, says he doesn't open with this because he doesn't want it to make it an issue, but at some point later in the conversation he'll drop in that there was some interest in the ship or something, and the captain was just checking out, so not making a big deal of it. But so he kind of does the whole attempts to do the whole transaction on his own, and just to let the doctor know that the captain will be up shortly, you know.
Okay, all right.
So shall I do a D6 on this?
Yeah, let's do a D6, because I think the he could get a little spooked by this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say somebody was checking out the ship, because that's dodgy. So what we'll just say is the captain will be up shortly. You know, it's been a 4-day trek. You know. Rolled a 1.
Oh boy. The doctor is, like I said, maybe he's a little bit spooked by this, a little bit jumpy, like, and he kind of asks, like, flat out comes out and says this to Roger. Are you the one I should be dealing with, or should we wait until your captain gets here?
No, the captain sent me on to make arrangements with you, and he's just prepping things for the cargo.
Okay.
So we've worked together for a long time, and then he gives him the whole story about, you know, how they've been colleagues, and, you know, throws in a few kind of like how great, you know, he wouldn't say this to the captain, but how great he is and how he gets jobs done on time, and, you know, his reputation is this, that, and the next thing, you know. It's like...
I'll give you a little bit more detail too. When the doctor walked in, he was carrying what are they called? Like a hard case, not too big, maybe
like a pilot case, kind of. Robust kind of thing.
Yeah, like something that could take a beating. And on the bottom of it is like a ring of metal, border and everything, and you can see it's got like some sort of power source to it. It's got like little lights blinking and so forth. The other guy is dressed in, they're sort of like robes. Like at first glance, they look really like plain, like a medium brown color, you know, like there's nothing, it's just sort of robes. But as you're like sitting there and you notice, you look closer and you see, it looks like there's fine hand stitched embroidery, but it's really subtle. Like it's like, you know, you really got to, the light catches the fabric the right way, and you can see it's really like detailed and fine craftsmanship. So it's not like a cheap, you know.
Yeah, it's plain but not cheap. In fact, the opposite probably.
Yeah.
Interesting. Roger has a funny thought flies through his head where he thinks, you know, it was just when you said that Case could take a beating, he thinks of himself giving it a good kick and seeing if it would take any damage, you know. But yeah, so Roger says, and is this your colleague or your associate? He's kind of intrigued about this apish looking human.
Yep. Let me see. He introduces himself as, let's go with this one, Vinny.
Vinny?
V-I-N-I, Vinny.
Pleased to meet you, Vinny. He offers his hand.
Yeah. And Vinny says, nice to meet you. And he goes to reach his arm out to shake your hand, and two arms come out.
Okay, right. I wondered. So yeah, he takes whatever one's closest, I guess. He's kind of like, you know. And if it was a high five, he could just go 10.
So by that, I meant to say he's two right arms come out.
Yes.
Which means he's got two left arms, so he's got a total of 4 arms.
Yeah, I wondered when you said robe if he had like 4 legs or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
So
he speaks English okay, and maybe just a little bit broken though, but he's, you know, seems like a good guy.
Okay. He wants to say you'd be a handy guy to have in a fight, but he refrains, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's finding this actually quite entertaining now, because he's coming up with a lot of good gags. He could, in a social situation, he could maybe say, but maybe not in a job situation.
I'm just looking at the time. How are you on the time? Do you want to?
Yeah, we could do another bit.
Okay. Let's cut the scene there. Come back to that, and let's go back to the captain.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's going through the rooms. Does he find any evidence of any culprit sneaking about?
He gets to the cargo bay, and it's it's basically empty. You know, you've got maybe some machinery that can help with heavy lifting and things like that, but it's not like there's really anything of real value in there yet. You know, you don't have any cargo on the deck. But you look down and you find just a little rumpled piece of paper. It looks like some sort of food, like maybe like a candy bar or a granola bar, or some sort of a food wrapper that's been left on the ground.
Okay, so I think what the captain does is he leaves the ship. If there's somebody there, he's going to lock the ship door and maybe reset the code. You know, he does his thumbprint or whatever it is that he'll do, and he'll kind of do some kind of reset, so that if somebody hacked it, then they'd need to rehack it to try and get out. And he goes up because he knows that too much time's gone by. Really, he goes up and to join the doctor and Roger.
Okay. Yep. Great. Clever. So no issue. He locks everything back up, seals it all up, heads back up to the office room, walks in the door, and introductions are made again. And the doctor seems a little bit more relieved, and he's like, I'm glad we're all here. Is everything okay?
Yes, everything's fine.
Good. So you can see he kind of calms down a little bit. He was just a little bit on the edge, a little bit nervous. Calms down, and he says, well, gentlemen, basically we're asking you to deliver this package. We need you to take it to let's see, just give you the name. The name it's called the Emerald. It's basically, how would you describe it? He says it's like a gated community / commune. Commune might be a good word for it. So it's a space station. It's not planet side. It's an orbital space station.
All right. Okay.
So everything is basically enclosed. It's big. It's a big space station.
Is this a spiritual place when you say commune?
Yeah, and that's what when he says the word commune, and then you look at Vinny with his robes. Now you're starting to like put two and two together, and you're like, okay, this is. So
I think the captain is quite direct, not direct as an offensive, but in terms of, he says, he maybe looks at Vinny and says, "Are you one of the spiritual leaders?"
He looks out of place. Like this whole office setting, the casino, this is not his world.
Sure.
So he's just a little bit off, maybe. And he says, this is, I don't know if it was explained to you in advance, but I'm going with the package. I'm to personally see it from the doctor to, it's actually my father who is the leader.
And no, that wasn't explained to us, right? That there was going to be a person either. So, I mean, again, Gene, not being nasty or narky about it, but he's like, oh no, that wasn't explained. But we'll do our best to accommodate you, Vinny.
That's good to hear.
And inwardly, and I think I can imagine that Roger's looking at him and he's kind of seen the beginnings of the red mist, and he can almost hear, if he was a psychic, he could hear him thinking, I'm gonna get that Vorta when I see him next time. He's going to be buying the drinks and adding a little bit to the payment. If this doesn't turn out good, that's the kind of tape playing.
I'll throw this in there too. If you remember from when Vorta gave you the job, he did give you that one restriction of you're not supposed to incite violence. So now, putting that two and two together, that's sort of,
it's a peace-loving kind of human ape man, four-armed, community.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the doctor kind of like, are we clear? I mean, it's really simple. You just deliver the package to the community. Once it gets there, they will send me a coded message back to say the package arrived safely. And then from there, we will transfer the funds to you.
Absolutely, Doctor. We've been doing this a long time. We're professionals.
And he says, and that the rule was, you're not to incite violence, but we, of course, expect you, defend yourself if needed. We're not saying no violence. We just don't want you to instigate anything.
No, absolutely not. We, the captain says I've had plenty of experience in warfare, but I don't look for it. But rest assured, your package will be protected, as will Vinny.
Mm-hmm. And then, so everybody's agreed, everybody's wrapping up, and the last thing that happens is the doctor hands the package, the suitcase, whatever. Yeah, the case, gives it to Vinny, and Vinny takes it in his forearms, and with one of his arms, he takes out a pair of like handcuffs, and he handcuffs his one arm to the suitcase.
Okay. I mean, you know, the upside of having a passenger, you know, is that he can look after the package, but we've got to look after him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we thank Dr. Baja for his custom, and we look forward to delivering as promised.
And the doctor says, one more thing before you go. The package must remain cold. That device on the bottom is a cooling element. He says, you don't need to fuss with it. You don't, hopefully it'll be fine the whole trip, but you just need to make sure that nothing damages that ring, that cooling device.
Gene just gives him a big broad smile, you know, and he says, the space is a cold place, Doctor. And at that point, he pulls out a big cigar and sticks it in his mouth and goes,
So you've got Vinny. Vinny's ready to go. He's got the package. You can head back to the ship if you want and go, or if there's anything else you want to do.
No, I think we're good to go. On the way down, you know, we let Vinny either walk in front of us or behind us or a bit, and I fill Roger in on that somebody was on board the ship. That
do you say that in front of Vinny?
No.
Does Vinny
no,
hear this?
No, that's what I mean. He's either behind us or in front of us or something, so we have a little kind of private conversation.
Okay.
And I say, when we got on ship, I'll take Vinny to settle him into the what is it you call the flaming pilot place? Control room. Bridge. The bridge, that's the word. We'll kind of let him settle in the bridge. When I do that, I explain that there was some kind of wrapper down. Go and check the bay, the loading bay immediately, and have a scout about and make sure there's nobody. We've not got a stowaway. That's what I say.
Okay.
So that's the kind of little private conversation. And then we kind of catch up with Vinny again, or and I just say to Vinny, I'll just send Roger on ahead. You know, maybe he jumps on. There's a kind of little hover thing coasting by, you know, that people can jump on and off. So he jumps on, you know, going from kind of casino or game to game, you know, or whatever, or bar to bar. So he jumps on and kind of goes ahead to kind of go and have a look before we even arrive.
Okay, who was that? I missed the beginning.
Roger.
Roger's doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, literally just maybe 2 or 3 minutes before we get there, but so that he can go, you know.
Yep. So he gets there. And did he tell him the new passcode to get on in the ship?
Yeah, he's a good captain.
So Roger gets on board and everything seems quiet. So
okay.
What is he?
So by the time we arrive, he's just sent a all quiet, you know, kind of message.
Okay.
We let Vinny come in and settle in and give him the largest seat in the available.
We'll say, I mean, you tell me if your ship is geared. You probably had passengers before, so it's not like there's nowhere to sit. There's nothing like that. But I'm just wondering, do you have like a special, you know, like a lounge or I noticed on the ship description, you do have a galley. I mean, you could just sit him in the galley, sort of, you know, the kitchenette sort of where everybody eats. Or are you treating him like, you know, just sort of have a seat on the bridge, you can look but don't touch sort of thing? You know?
Yeah, I think he can be on the bridge or the galley, wherever he wants. I'm guessing, I would suspect especially because there's just two of us doing a lot of jobs. There's obviously sleeping quarters for myself and Roger, and maybe there's a third room. It might not be that big, but I'm sure, as you said, we've had passengers in the past, so maybe we've got either that, or it's a small lounge area where, you know, you can kind of kick your feet up and, you know, I like the idea of a kind of little slightly open loungy bit where a passenger or two could kind of crash out, you know, if they wanted to, something like that.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. So you're ready to leave, basically. Do you want to leave, or do you want to continue searching, or how do you want to treat the?
I think we're going to head on. This is a 2-day trip.
Shouldn't take that long.
And what I do though is, again, I say to Roger to make sure that because we've not got any large cargo,
right?
So basically to lock up the cargo area, to seal it, you know. So the cargo internal doors, not the external ones, the internal doors, to make sure they're locked, so that if anybody's in there, then we've not got any danger. And it's kind of, unless they can hack it, it's sealed, you know.
They did get on board in the first place.
So maybe, seeing as you reminded me of that anyway, we'll say that Roger's, whatever it is that he get, you know, gadgets he's got to hook up to the systems of the ship.
Sure.
That there's he sets a kind of alarm or a signal on his, you know, machinery to say that if the cargo door opens, it alerts him immediately.
Okay.
If that's doable.
Sure.
So apart from that, I think we just go, because we could always jettison the cargo area if there's anybody running around. And
ooh, harsh. Okay.
See you later.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Yes. It is very cold out there.
All right. I'm going to say you rolled a great roll last time, so I'm not going to ask you to do another pilot roll to disengage. So no issues there. You're on your way. So you settle in for a nice trip. You've got the coordinates for the Emerald. Everything is going smoothly, and the sensor array does a little beep that the captain notices.
And what's that from?
It's picking up a ship from behind you.
Are they relatively close?
It's just within your sensor range, so
okay, so my instructions to Roger when Vinny's out of earshot is to go and see if there's any kind of tracking device that's been planted back there.
Back
in the cargo, probably.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Okay.
And take your pistol with you.
So you get to the cargo bay door, and it was locked pretty firmly. Your alarm didn't trigger, so all you need to do is just unlock it, and you can go in.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yep. Everything's quiet.
So he puts a really powerful kind of torch thing. You know, he's maybe got I don't know, something on a hat or something like that. You know, like just a builder's hat or a miner's hat. You know, with a powerful torch beam, and he checks around areas and has a look.
Is he still in his tux?
No. He's still got the sneakers on, but.
Okay, I just was that would be the miner's helmet with his tux.
Yeah. No, he wants to keep that good for next time he's out.
He changes as soon as he get back. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do just a sort of general, like a search.
Okay. 3.
A 3. you take the torch, so you know that I mean, this is your ship. You know it well.
Yeah.
And you start to think like, well, if I had to hide, where would I hide? That kind of thing. And eventually you find a section back behind some gear, and your light pans across, and you see a man slash creature, like it's alien-ish type looking humanoid, and he's just sort of crouched down, hiding behind the gear. And he just looks startled when the light hits him.
Okay, so I point the gun at it and say, "Do you speak common English? Intergalactic common speak?"
You see, he looks afraid. He looks like he's looking like his eyes keep darting around, and he's like looking. You can see like any minute now he might try to run. But he responds in some sort of gibberish, some sort of guttural clicks and clacks.
Yeah, he's on the run probably, and hence the ship that's not far behind. So, Roger changes tack, right? He's still got the gun out, but he signs to him and he goes, like, does he want food?
Mm-hmm. There's a it's just the look of fear is still like he's trying to like figure out, can he outrun you, can he get past you before you shoot. There's that look of he's just trying to get away from you as soon as the moment presents itself.
Okay, so Roger's going to back off and shout before he locks the door. It's cold in space.
Out. Okay.
And he locks the door, relocks the door again.
Okay.
And just for good measure, he puts some kind of big bar across, like, so that literally even if he hacks the thing, it's gonna kind of jam it somehow. It takes about 20 minutes, to kind of put something behind it that will kind of jam the doors.
Mm. Okay.
Or disconnects something,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to power the door.
I'm picturing. Did you ever hear of? I think that we used to do it in schools when you penny a door. Did you ever hear that?
No.
Our school doors were like big wooden doors,
Mm-hmm.
and had a standard doorknob. But if you push the door, they were wood, so they would bend just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you push the door, and then you take usually like 2 or 3 pennies, and you slide the pennies in the jam,
Mm-hmm.
and then you release the pressure, the pennies keep the pressure on the wood, and it makes it so that the door is like you can't get out. It's like locking it, kind of.
Yeah, well, that but a space version.
Right. All right. Yeah. So that's he's pretty much locked in there. Then he's not getting out easily.
So Roger's like, sorted that one. And he goes, at an opportune moment, maybe when it's about time for something to eat,
Mm-hmm.
He'll pull the captain aside and let him know what the situation is, and the captain's probably coming to the same conclusion that I came to, which was, hell, I bet you they're tracking. I bet you that ship that's on the edge of our sensors is tracking him down.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a bounty on him or something, or he could be a criminal.
In that time that it took all this to happen, that blip has now gotten closer to your ship, so the ship is gaining on you.
Okay, well, I mean, the only good thing is that if they hail us and ask, say they're looking for the guy, the creature, then at least we'll know what it's about, But I think, the captain's not shy in putting his foot down a bit, so he'll maybe, while Vinny and Roger are prepping some food, he speeds up the ship, tries to get it just to move that little bit faster, to keep the distance. You know.
Okay.
Not so much, a total, outrun, but just keeping that distance between them so that, we can still get to our destination without any grief.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to do a pilot roll.
6.
Okay. Good. So you put the pedal to the metal, so to speak. You're not trying to like act, full on outrun this thing, are you? You're just trying to just,
because that'll set the alarms going. It's not like evasive, action, but just increase the speed.
Right. You're just increasing. Okay. Yep. So no issues there. I'm gonna let me do this. I'm going to ask you to do a reading people roll. This is just to encapsulate. There's a lot happening between Gene and Roger that you're trying to keep secret from Vinny, right? You're keeping him in the dark about all this. So just give me a reading people roll. I want to see how good of a job you're being at hiding this sort of.
It's a D8 for this one. A 3.
3. Not that great. So Vinny starts like, maybe he's just picking up on the nervous tension, and he just does a quick like, "Is everything okay, Captain? Are we good?"
Yep, all good. We're gonna get there on time.
I'm sorry, you say you're food or something? You're making food or?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Eventually, I mean, there's no issues there. You can all eat and everything. The blip though is getting closer and closer though. For each speed increase, like they're definitely following you. There's no question at this point, and they're catching up to you. They're getting closer to the point where they're within hailing distance, but they're not hailing.
Okay, I think when they're within hailing distance, Gino hail them. Whatever the signal the ship's producing, there will be like, hailing, a Z class, blah, 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 this is Captain Gene Hackman of the SS Accelerator.
Nice.
Can you state your intent and why you are following our course?
And there's no response.
I'll do that 2 or 3 times, and if there's still no response, I'm going to do a tactical scan of their ship. We've also got military grade turrets and defense turret. So yeah, tactical scan. So
is there anything specific you want to know before you roll?
I want to know how they're weaponized.
Okay.
Well, I think how this is going to work is that Roger is the electronics guy as well as engineer, so he'll get on the. Well, I suppose, how we could play the players. Gene has navigation, so maybe that could kind of make for that. But the electronics obviously makes sense. So if he's on the electronics, he can do the scan. So that would make it a D8 for him because that's what he's got.
Okay, that makes sense. Good.
I think that's how I'm kind of thinking of it.
Sure.
So, Roger Rabbit.
Yep.
Does the scan and he gets a 7.
Nice.
Right. Good result.
You get back that the ship is armed very similar to your ship, actually. So it's got turrets on it. It's got weapons. And it will shortly be in range.
Okay, so how many hours is this down the road in our journey? Because it's a 2-day...
it's a 2-day trip. I'll say this is about 10 hours in.
Right, so we're nowhere near. Maybe while Vinny's resting or something like that, I'm going to suggest to Roger we jettison some kind of meaningless stuff that could just be trash, you know, like some canisters or containers that could potentially be, that could look like something or something's, you know, like we've got an escape pod, but the escape pod on the ship is a 4-man pod. We're not going to lose that. It's far too valuable. So it's kind of like in place of an escape pod. So it might look like somebody's trying to get off the ship. If they're chasing somebody, like our stowaway, then it could look like that somebody's, you know, left. Kind of just to slow them down a bit.
So give me what would you jettison? Like what? It's got to be something sizable then, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, you
maybe
don't have a lot of...
Maybe there's a kind of tall refuse bin with wheels, you know, on wheels. And normally that just gets locked up to something. So I get Roger to fire that out the cargo bay, assuming that creature's still hiding in the same kind of area.
Yeah,
then
I'll say you locked it in pretty well.
Yeah, so we could jettison that out, even if he needs to go into the cargo bay, you know, seal the inside door, you know, put it in the external door and let it out, and just, if nothing else, the ship can crash into it behind us if they want, you know, and get hit with a garbage can. Or they might think that, you know, because I'm imagining this at least 5 foot tall, you know, some kind of big container, then they might think size-wise it could be some kind of pod or something, you know.
Okay, a little bit risky, a little bit chancy, but let's I like where you're going. So just to clarify, are you able to jettison this cargo without opening up the entire cargo bay? In other words, your passenger, is he going to be sucked out too?
No, because I could put it in the whatever that you call the internal and external doors, between the internal and external doors.
So it's sort of like an airlock.
An airlock kind of setup, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would imagine they would have something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right. I like where you're going with this. So let me see. You go through that trouble. You know, maybe even Vinny's able to help, or are you really just keeping him out of it? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Don't really want to tell him, to be honest.
Okay, that's fine too.
Yeah.
So maybe Vinny retired after dinner and he went to lay down.
Yeah, or meditate or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And maybe, you know, the ship's on autopilot to some degree, so the captain can kind of help out once Roger takes this kind of reconnects the thing, you know, the junction box or whatever it is to the doors, and now the doors are operational. The captain maybe stands at the door with his pistol for like 15 minutes as he does the ferrying, and he's like, "This is the best bin we've ever had. I don't want to get rid of it, man. I've put a lot of good things in here." So he goes through the process, and Roger tells Gene where the creature was hiding, so he's kind of directing his attention towards that, just in case it does anything stupid, you know.
Yep. It's still there, and it's just sort of like huddled in a corner.
Yeah, so it's obviously scared. So yeah, we do go through that process, and then, you know, Roger comes back, he then closes the doors and then disconnects the doors again, and he pulls some lever somewhere, and it's you know, and I can imagine this flying large garbage can just kind of rotating and strange, and bits of fragments of some stuff flying out of it, you know? Basically garbage in space. So that's it.
Yeah.
And then I think I increase the speed a notch, you know.
Okay. All right. So I would like to put it to a dice roll. I'm open to any ideas as to what you think. I mean, not sure if there's any skills that really pertain to this. Is there, or
In terms of what, evasion kind of thing?
yeah, you're basically trying to like outsmart them in some way, or
Well, I just think it's probably down to piloting again. It's that kind of oh, you know, I never thought about this. Roger's an expert in explosives. So maybe he could put some, no, I don't want to do that actually, because I don't want it to be a weapon, because then we're also instigating violence. But
good point.
And if it was a stowaway, it's not going to blow up. So no, I don't want to. I thought for a moment we could put a bomb in it.
I was all ready for it, but you make a good point.
So I think the only thing I can see is really pilot or navigation. Navigating the thing rather than looking at maps, actually navigating the situation. Probably pilot makes more sense.
Okay.
Plus, it's a better dice.
Yeah, better dice.
Saying that, I think I've been getting better scores in the D6 tonight. A 3.
Ooh.
No, a 3 again. So still a pass, though, isn't it?
It's still a pass. Got any ideas? I think I've got one, but do you have anything?
I think what I would like to happen is that we keep some good distance. The perfect situation would be that ship had slowed down to kind of do some sensors on it, just in case, the creature had either been forcibly removed, but of course they could do life scans and stuff like that, I would imagine. You would think at least it would pique their interest, but maybe they're wise to it, I don't know. So my goal is really to slow them down. That's the ultimate goal.
Down.
Yeah.
Right. So 3 would be like a partial success. So let's say there's that tension where you jettison the space, you're continuing on. Are you speeding up at all? I'm curious.
Yeah. I would maybe hold off for talking sake 10 minutes.
Okay.
So it's not obviously, we're throwing this out and then we're zooming away, because then it looks like a decoy. But we kind of give them a few minutes to maybe contemplate what this might be before, and then gradually increase the speed, So yes, we're going to speed away. But then if we had found the passenger and got rid of him, then we'd probably do the same thing as well. So it's kind of justifiable,
So here I'm going to ask you. So picture a speedometer, right? You got your speed of your ship, and you're in the green up until a certain point, and then you've got orange, and then you've got red. You're really pushing it. Where are you at on that?
Okay, so this is dead high tech, Jeff. Yeah, green, orange, or red. So right. I think what we're doing is we're still in the green, right, towards the high end, but when we jettison that, we're pushing the green to the top. Okay. Right, and then once the kind of 10 to 15 minutes has passed, so that maybe this object might have piqued our interest, we're moving into the orange.
Okay.
And we're letting rip, Gotcha. Not like max speed, but we're putting the foot down at that point.
Okay. So there's this tense moment where you're just wondering and waiting to see what happens. So the ship, you're putting the distance. You see on your radar that the distance is increasing. So they have slowed down now. They're checking out whatever it was you jettisoned.
Yeah.
And you are putting more distance and space between you. Eventually they get to the point when they catch up to the dumpster or whatever. And you don't need sensors for this, but we'll say that suddenly you see an explosion. They just fired on this big old dumpster and just blew it to shreds.
Right. Well, I put the throttle down, and obviously that's now getting more distant in our sensors because we've managed to kind of increase the gap.
Okay.
But yeah, when I realise that's the kind of aggressive stance that they're taking. We're moving.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you another dice roll here. I want to see, is your ship going to hold up to the stress of the extra speed that you're pushing it at?
No problem.
Giving it all she's got, Captain. Got to fit that into every sci-fi game.
Keep calm, Roger. Let's move this baby. 7.
Ooh, nice. All right. Your ship holds up well. Little jiggling and jattering and things falling off the shelf maybe, and maybe a spark here and there, but you're starting to pull away from this thing. You're increasing the distance.
Yeah, you suck. That might waken old Vinny up, you know.
All right, I think in the interest of time, we'll continue on, and you eventually outrun this ship, whatever it was doing or after. You won't necessarily know, but you outrun it, so it's considered a success because you didn't die.
I would say that I think the captain's thinking, Captain Gene Hackman thinks that when we arrive at Emerald Station, we'll see if anybody in this peaceful place can speak the language of this creature and give it an interview when we're actually on site.
It's a good idea. Okay. So yeah, unless you want to do anything, we can fast forward to when you arrive.
Let's go to the Emerald City. I mean the Emerald Station. We want to see the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. So time passes, you arrive with no other issues, and Vinny's glad to be home. He's glad to be off your ship, no offense intended, but he's like, good to be home. So he's feeling much more relaxed. He invites you in to meet his father, the head of the station. I'm curious. So Vinny still doesn't know about your passenger. You're just gonna, now that you're there safely, you're gonna tell him about it, or how do you want to do the translation thing?
Trying to think if we're better telling him or telling his father. You know, almost like keeping him out of the picture. Not that you wouldn't find out about it, but not, oh, by the way, you know, don't need to have that discussion. So maybe hopefully the father is very grateful that everything's arrived in good order, including his son. And I say, perhaps I could, you know, and I think Gene is very, he knows how to do the respect thing, you know, being a military guy originally. So he speaks to him quite formally, you know, in whatever his position is in the place. And he says, perhaps you could help me with a small issue of understanding of another race. And then I explained that somebody managed to keep on the cargo hold, and we decided to seal that off because our priority was delivering, you know, I kind of spin it. Our priority was delivering your son and the goods safely. That was the promise we made, and we keep our promises, you know. Always trust in Captain Gene Hackman's delivery service.
At your service.
So he basically spins it that, you know, this has been an important thing, but we don't think that the creature understands our language, and we want to make sure that it's safe. It seemed very scared, so we made sure that it was safe. And do you have any translators?
All right, good. So we'll say that he's a little bit like he wasn't expecting any of this. Like he thought this, you know, he'd deliver the package, he'd get paid, and everybody goes their separate ways, and that's it. So this is a little bit like, okay, like I'll
I mean,
see what I can do.
If he's not happy with it, we say the alternative is we just take him back to the nearest space station and drop him off.
No. That's fine. He says we could see. I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but maybe we know something. Maybe the languages cross, and we'll be able to figure it out. So he calls friend, comrade, whatever. So the two of the father, Vinny's, he's eating now. He's
Is this an idyllic setting? And are they all
Yeah.
four-armed ape men?
Yep, exactly.
Right. Okay.
It's funny too. I was thinking when I was imagining it, I'm picturing, so like you're walking through their station through the hallway, but you notice along the ceiling there's all these bars, and it's like, you remember the monkey bars?
Yeah.
So like you're just walking, which is super slow, and these other creatures are just like swinging past you, like
yeah.
That's their normal mode.
Yeah.
So yeah, the two of them, the father and then this translator character, they accompany you to your ship, and you get to the cargo bay.
Okay, and I open it up, and we bring the translator in, and say to the translator, perhaps the first thing we should offer is some food or sustenance for the creature, if you're able to communicate with it.
Okay. So I'm curious, how are you going to word that? So like you're telling you the translator, this is what I want you to say, right? Is that so? What would you say to the translator to say to the creature?
Express our concern for its safety and well-being, and let it know that we've provided it safe passage. Would it require some food or sustenance?
Okay.
For an onward journey.
All right. You know what? Instead of, I don't want to roll, so why don't you roll again? Just do a d6.
5.
Nice. Okay. So you hear some jibber jabber, and eventually it takes a little bit of time, but soon he discovers like what language it's speaking, and it's clear that now they're communicating, and the creature is like, that would be great, that food would be fantastic, I'm starving, and so he accepts your offer.
Okay, we also want to find out what it was running from, or why it was on board the ship.
He starts to explain to the translator that he basically was just looking to get away. He's a traveler. He doesn't have money to pay for fares, and this is his standard routine. He jumps on board another ship and just goes wherever they go.
I asked the translator to ask, was anybody after him?
And he looks confused, and he's like, no, I just thought you guys were after me. Some people don't take kindly.
So maybe the ship wasn't after him, which I assumed. Maybe they were after the cargo. So yeah, that's interesting, because that's that's a little twist in the tale for me, because I was assuming this was a runaway from,
Yeah.
Okay, so I also ask him to ask the creature, kind of finally, is there any skills that he has that might be of use to us?
Like what?
I'm thinking about on board our ship.
As another possible crewmate later on?
Yeah.
It's up to you. You can work something out.
Okay, well, we can leave that for another time.
Okay. All right, so let's wrap it up there, and we'll say that for the last scene, you're doing this translating back and forth, and you ask the translator, is there anything, are you good at anything? I mean, you jump from ship to ship, maybe ships and the technology and the engineering, and and the creature then, like, this dialogue between you and the translator. Eventually, soon the creature then turns to you and just starts speaking common English to you.
Yeah.
So he's known the whole time.
I think at that point, that maybe the last scene of the film, if this was a film, is Gene taking a cigar out of his mouth, throwing his head back and laughing out, you know, guffawing. and you just see Roger in the background going, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. Good stuff. Now, the only thing I'd like to know as we kind of close the scenario is, do you have a sense of, you know, what this station is all about? Because I'm kind of intrigued as to the place of enlightenment and ape men, or is that is that another scenario potentially at some point?
It could be, but honestly, my thinking was, I was just trying to think, all right, what is this package? Why is it going from a casino of all places to an emerald city, which, I mean, there's no other description. That's all it says is a commune. It doesn't even say commune. It says, what does it say? Community / office park. So I was like, well, why, what is this package? Was it? So in my mind, if it came up in the story, was this is like a medical drug that this bioengineer company came up with that is a hallucinogen.
Right. And okay.
Because these are like religious type beings, they see this as a gateway to their religion.
Right.
And it's medicine. But the people that were following you, this is just would make a fantastic street drug. You know, they could sell this.
Interesting. I mean, it's so funny the different interpretations that I've had about things along the story, because this might amuse you, but when the scientist guy brought Vinny along, I immediately thought, he's an experiment of the scientist. He's got multiple arms, you know, it's genetics. Remember, he's something to do with genetics, I'm sure you said. So I'm assuming that this monkey guy, before I knew he was like a kind of mystical thing, was a genetic experiment. So that was one thing that I had completely wrong. The other thing I had completely wrong was the guys that were after us weren't after the stowaway.
Right.
And so I still had this idea that the drug was something to alter people's genetic code, you know, and that's, it was going, you know, I thought it could have been, we could have arrived there and it could have all got a bit sinister, you know, like they were wanting to capture us and, you know,
do experiments or
you
something.
know, basically the island of Dr. Moreau in space, you know.
Right.
So, okay, I think we'll wind up the video with that. So for anybody that's watching, I hope you've enjoyed our very first practice session of 2400. And certainly had fun doing it and playing the characters.
I think if you just Google it, 2400, you'll find it. I got it through itch.io, itch.io, I think. But I'm sure if you just Google 2400 Cosmic Highway or Jason Tocci, Tocci, you'll be able to find it.
You can always put a wee link in the comments below, in the message below.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching.